Alright, Part 180, Chapter 1, Title 49, Subpart F, Qualification Maintenance of Tanker Cars. Applicability. The subpart prescribes the requirements in addition for those of the contained in the statute 107, 171, 172, 173, 174, 179. Subchapter applicable to the person, manufacturer, fabricated for the marks, maintained with the prepares, inspect with the serve of the tank with the ensure continuing of the qualification subpart, establish the minimum acceptable framework of the owner's qualification program. For tank and components, the owner should be filed with the subpart with the developer the written procedure working instructions required in the statute 179.7D for the use of the tanker car facilities for the employees. The owner qualification program for each of the tanker car fleet with the tanker cars must identify where to inspect, how to inspect, the acceptance of the criteria, alternative inspection, testing procedure, intervals based on the damage and tolerance and analysts for the service of the reliability assessment must be approved by the Associated Administrator of the Railroad Safety in accordance with the statute 185.191. Tanker car facilities must incorporate the owner's qualification program in their quality assurance of the program and the requirement of statute 179.7A, 2A, and B3, and B5, and D. Any person performing the function prescribed in this part should perform the function in accordance with this part. D, when the subpart of the person required with the documents available, the FR request such of the request meaning for the credential of the FR personally authorized representative of the department may view the document and make copies of them. And the document owner may seek for the confidential treatment of any of the documents presented within the statute 105.3. Corrosion to the tank of the surface of the equipment, meaning with the material identified with the appendix G with the part with the material with the contact with the inner shell of the tank with the surface of the equipment, the corrosion rate with a seal greater than 2.5 mil inches per year, or 25/10,000 of an inch per year. Defects, many abrasion, corrosion, the dents fall off the bow, the distortion, erosion, missing, damage, leaking, or loosening component of the fasteners or other conditions, imperfections may make the tanker car unsafe for the transportation required that may be removed from service. Design level and reliability. Safety means the level of reliable safety built with the tanker car and therefore inherent with the specification of the design and manufacturer. Inspecting and testing means the careful, critical examination for the tanker car. Its approvals is performed by the qualified personnel found with their own qualified procedures. Interior heater system means the piping system located within the tank that uses the fluid medium to the heat of the landing of the proposed unloading. The maintenance means upkeeping, preservation, including repair of the necessary for the property to ensure in operation the tank of the car's specification until the next qualification. Modification means any change of the tank of the car fixed with the certificate of construction prescribed in statute 179.5, including the alteration prescribed in 179.6 for the conversion. Objectively, responsibly articulated belief that means the belief of the base articulated identified in the fact of the provider the object of the basis of the belief of the suspect the tanker car or classes or design of the tank of the cars may be unsafe for the operating condition. Qualification as relevant that the tanker car meet with the car for the component with the confirms the specification to meet with the what is designed, manufactured, modify the requirements of the subpart applicable the requirements of the AR specification for the tanker cars and to the owner's acceptance for the criteria qualification accomplished with a careful and critical examination of the various performance of the inspection testing to be written with the provider to prove the tanker car owner provide with the written representation conform with the tanker car with the pass of the appropriate test for the specification the sign with the test report marked with the denote the passage considerable to qualify for the hazardous material transportation and subchapter. The railworthiness for a tank of the car means the tank surface equipment, the safety system, and all other components that cover the subchapter conform with the hazardous material regulations and others suitable for the continued and surface capable of performing the intent of the function for the next qualification radius. Reactivity of the tank of the surface equipment means the material that in the contact with the inner shell of the tank with the surface equipment that may react to the produce heat gases or other pressure that could substantially reduce the effectiveness for the packaging and the safety of its use. Reinforced tank shell butt weld means a portion of the butt weld covered by the reinforced pad. Reinforced pad means an attachment welded directly to the tank support major structural components for the purpose of preventing damage to the tank through the fatigue or overstressing, denting, puncturing, tearing. Reliability means the qualified ability of the item to structure to operate without failure within the specified period of the design life until the next qualification. Representation means the testing through the documentation and in writing or by marking with the tank or the jacket that the tanker car is qualified for the railworthiness. See also 185.11 and 185.17. B. Safety system means one or more of the following: thermal protection device system with installation system, tank head puncture resistance system, coupler vertical resistance system, the system they use to protect the discontinuities, skid protection, and protective housings as required by the unit of the subchapter. The service equipment means the equipment they use for the loading and unloading, including the interior heating system and then sampling, venting, vacuum relief, pressure relief, and then measuring the amount of the landing and unlanding temperature. Service equipment owner means for the party responsible for the bearing the cost of the maintenance for the service equipment. Tanker car owner means for the person with whom the rail car is reporting marked with the sign the line listed universal machine language equipment register. The tanker car means the shell heads of the tank shell and the head welded joints and attachment welded some with the nozzle flange, all other components welded thereto, and either in the contact with the landing of the containing the landing of the transit. Train consists means a written record of the contents, location, or even the rail car in a train. 108.505 Quality Assurance Program. The Quality Assurance Program requirements of the Statute 179.7 of the subchapter apply. 180.507 The qualification of the tanker car. Each tanker car marked with the meaning of the dot specification any other tanker car used for the transportation of the hazardous material must meet with the requirements of the subchapter of the applicable specification to which the tank was constructed. Tanker car specification no longer is authorized for construction. The tanker car prescribed with the following table to authorize for the service to provide that they conform with all applicable safety requirements of the subchapter. 2. Reserve. Specification of the .11.3A 175W and .11.3C 60W, .11.3D 60W and .11.3D 120W. Tank cars may continue their use of the new construction not authorized. The .105A and 105S tanker cars used for the transport of hydrogen chloride refrigerated liquid under the terms of the .E3992 may continue in service of the new construction not authorized. Specification of the .103AA-LW and 103AW, 103ALW, 103ANW, 103BW, 103CW, 103DW, 103EW, and 104W. Tank cars may continue in use in new constructions not authorized. Alright, 108.509 Requirements of the inspection of the testing and specification of the tanker cars. Generally, each tanker car must be insured with the tank of the car. Facility inspection testing item is according with the requirements specified in the section. Evaluate the item according with the acceptable result of the inspection testing and specified in 108. 185.11 The marks in each of the tanker cars specified in 108, 185.15 with the qualified transportation hazardous material. Prepare the documentation required with the statute 185.17 with each of the qualified under the section, a copy of the document required with the statute 108.517 be sent with the owner of the property with according with the owner's instruction coordination conditions required with the qualification of the tanker cars without regard for the qualification complying with the data, the requirements of the ending of the paragraph of this section. Owner of the tank of the car or an internal coating with a lining must ensure the appropriate inspection for the testing according with the type of the defect with the type of the maintenance of the repair performed. 1. The tank of the car show for the evidence of abrasion, corrosion, crack, the dents, distortion, the defects, and weld, any other condition that may make the tank of the car unsafe for the transportation. The tanker car with an accident and show for the evidence of the damage to the extent of the most may adversely affect within the capability to retain the contents that otherwise remain rail worthy. The tank bears evidence of the damage caused by the fire. The Associated Administrative Railway Safety FRA required based on the existence of the objectively reasonable articulable relief of belief of the tanker car class design of the tank cars may be in unsafe operation condition. Frequency inspection of the testing. Each tanker car shall have the inspection testing according with the requirements of the paragraph. For Class 107, the tank cars revisited the construction tank cars must have the hydrostatic pressure for the test visual inspection conform with the requirements effective prior to the July 1st, 1996 for the tanker specification. For the .111.3 tanker cars, see this 173.319E of the subchapter. The fusion weld the tank cars must be inspected, tested, and qualified and maintained in accordance with the following table. All qualification requirements need not to be done at the same time or at the same facility. Visual inspection. Minimally, each of the tanker car must visually inspect for the tank of the externally and internally as followed. All internal inspection for the tank of the shell on the head for the abrasion, for the corrosion, for the cracks, dent, for the distortion, defect for the welds, any other condition that makes the tank of the car unsafe for the transportation, except within the areas where the insulation thermal protection system precludes an external inspection for the tank shell for the heads for the abrasion, corrosion, the crank, dent, and cracks, the dents, the distortion, defects for the weld, any other condition that makes the tank of the car unsafe for the transportation. For .115 with the class tanker car with the internal inspection for the interior containing an external inspection for the outer shell with the heads for the defect with the welds, any other condition that may make the tanker car unsafe for the transportation. When the internal coating of the liner and head protection and insulation thermal protection is removed for the part of the whole, the internal external exposed for the surface of the tank must be visually inspected for the defects as well, with any other condition that may tank the car unsafe with the transportation. Inspection must proceed. Any application or reapplication for the coating of the liner. Inspection of the surface equipment included with gasket indication for the corrosion and other conditions that may make the tank or car unsafe for the transportation. Inspection method and loose with bolt nuts elements that make the tank of the car unsafe for the transportation. Inspection of all closure for the tank or car condition for the make of the tank with unsafe for the transportation, including the inspection for the protective housing for the proper conditions. 6. An inspection excessive flow rate valve with the threaded seat for the tightness and inspection for the required for the marking of the tanker car legibility. All right, structural integrity inspection of the test. Each tank for the car must ensure that the structural elements on the tanker car qualify with applicable requirements for the subchapter at the minimum of the structural integrity with the inspection test may include all transverse fillet welds greater than quarter of an inch within the 4 foot over the bottom of the longitudinal center line with except for the body of the bolster attachment welds. Termination longitudinal fillet welds greater than a quarter inch within 4 foot over the bottom of the longitudinal center line with the tank shells butt welds 2 feet over the bottom of the longitudinal center line. You unless the tanker car owner determined for the analysis finite elements analysis, determine the tolerance analysis, serve the reliability assessment. The structure will not develop the defect, reduce the design level of safety, reliability fall in with the operational life of the prior next to the required inspection. The owners must maintain all the documentation used in most of the determination principle. Plea for the business, make the data available to the FRA with the authorized representative with the department upon request. For .11.5, the class tank paragraph E11 and E through E3 with the section apply only with the outer shell fill with the welds non-reinforced except for the other outer shell butt welds. 3. The inspection requirement of the paragraph E13 with the section do not apply with the reinforced tank shell but the welds in the time lining of the removal of the application of the tank cars with the internal leading glass or rubber lining. Each tanker car facility must inspect with the test of the eliminate element within identified paragraph E1 in section 1 or more of the following methods of the dye penetration test, the radiographic examination, magnetic particle testing, ultrasonic testing, and direct remote enhanced visual inspection using, for example, the magnifiers, hyperscopes, borescopes, and other machine vision technology. Thickness test. The tanker car owner must ensure that each tanker car facility measure the thickness of the tanker car shells, head, sumps, and protection of housing. Nozzles of each of the tanker cars use the device capable of accurately measuring the thickness of the wall of 5 plus or minus 5 hundredths of a millimeter. Alright, the tanker car owner must ensure that each of the tanker car thickness estimate measurement at the time of the internal coating of the lining application replacement, or at least once every 10 years for the tank of the car does not have the internal coating or lining, and at least once every 5 years for the tank of the design have the internal coating or lining. The tank is used for the transport the material corrosive reactive the tank with appendix D of this part. Surface equipment is defined in statute 18503. The remaining shell and head of the thickness is tested and determined below line C in figure A of this paragraph. Figure A shows the tank shell thickness. A is the A additional thickness 10-year inspection interval, 5-year inspection that's under F, and localized reductions only and from D and E. For loading, repair, internal coating and lining with a material with a growth of the tank with a surface equivalent defined in statute 180-5503, the contact over the tank of the qualified individual must verify the containing lining with the conforming with the paragraph G with the section measure of the shell head with the ensure air with the repair thickness with the test only with the non-line coated with the prepared area, non-qualification event with a non-modification with the tank stencil not required up to operation of the tank car below the containing general corrosion. Condemning limit to localized corrosion is shown figure A with this section prohibited. The further sum of the protective housing, the domes, nozzle with the nozzle reinforcement pad, the tanker car owner must determine any of the reduction of the wall thickness, the fact of the design level, the reliability, safety built on the sum of the protective housing, nozzle with the nozzle reinforcement. Each tanker car owner must maintain a principal play for the business documentation, prescribe allowable thickness restriction, reduction sum of the protective housing, nozzles, and nozzle reinforcement. The documentation must be made available to the FRA with an authorized representative of the department upon request. After the repairs and alteration, conversions, remodification, blasting of the tanker car result of the reduction of the tank thickness, any time with the tanker car coating lining, the remove of the qualified individual must measure the thickness of the tank of the car area with the thickness and ensure that the thickness of the tank conforms with the paragraph G of this section. G. Surface thickness and allowance of the tanker car found with the thickness below the required minimum thickness forming the specification as stated in the Part 179 subchapter may continue the surface in reduction and required minimize not more than is provided with the following table. 2. Reserve safe system inspection. Even the tanker car must ensure for the qualification of the tanker car system, however, the inspection and foam of the foam or cork installation systems are not required. Internal coating and lining inspection testing. A minimum of the owner internal coating and lining and apply with the product protects the tank of the use of the transport of the material of the growth of the reactive of the tank measure and ensure the inspection adequate enough to detect with the defects for the condition and reduce the design level of the reliability shape of the tank of the performance. Add addition of the owner with the containing of the lining with the tank of the car. Use the hazardous material of the bunch to ensure the lining and is complied with the statute 173.24 B2 B3 a subchapter. The owner of the internal coating of the lining must be established to maintain the record of the surface life of the coating and lining with a combination of the specified hazardous material that loaded in the tank of the coating and lining of the place for the time of loading. The owner of the internal coating or lining must use it knowledge and survey of the life of each of the line and commodity combination. The establish appropriate inspection interval with the coding of the lining committee. The combination the interval must not exceed 8 years unless for the coding and aligning owner can establish documents showing the service history, scientific analysis for the coding and aligning commodity, pairing, supporting of the longer inspection interval. The owner must maintain a principal place for the business written procedure for the collection of the documentation performing the coding of the lining and apply with the tank of the car and service the life of the internal coding of the liner, or must provide for the documentation, including inspection, testing, and repair, removal of the application procedure for the FRA of the car owner upon request. Further, offeror must provide with the commodity the information for the car owner, the owner, internal coding of the lining upon request. The owner, internal coding of the lining, must provide with the test method, the acceptance criteria for the tanker car owner, the person responsible for qualifying the coding and lining of the tanker car facility with the inspection testing of the internal coding and lining must file with the inspection testing procedure, including the acceptance requirements established for the internal coding of the lining or lining owner. J. Leakage pressure test. Unless the design and surface equipment, the arrangement of the preclude the e.g. there is no fitting of the pressure of the tanker. Each of the owner tanker car must ensure that the tanker surface equipment, the closure of the install with the replacement and reinstall with the tanker car are leak tested. The test may be conducted with the lighting of the tank with the pressure. When the test pressure exceeds with the start the discharge of the burst pressure, the pressure relief device must be rendered inoperative. The written procedure for the test method for leaking test must ensure the sensitivity and reliability of the test method to prevent premature failure. Section does not apply to the facility to remove the closure for the sole purpose of the loading and unloading and landing of the blind flanges and pipe plugs, and etc. Okay, surface equipment inspection test. Each of the tank owner must ensure that the qualification tank of the surface equipment at least one every 10 years of the tank of the car must analyze the surface equipment inspection test and result in any given landing of the based on the analysis of the inspection test frequency, ensure the design level of reliability, safety of the equipment. May the owner maintain on the principal plate for the business and all supporting documentation to make such analysis inspection test frequency adjustment. The support documentation must be made available to the FRA authorized representative of the department upon request. To each tank facility may be qualified surface equipment, including the closing pressure relief valve with the interior heater system in the corner for the applicable provision, Appendix D, with the AR specification for the tanker car. Alternative inspection testing procedure with approval of the associated administrator of the railroad safety for the FR to the tanker car owner and the coding lining may only use the alternative inspection testing procedure for the interval based on the damage tolerance analysis. They must include the determination for the probable location mods for the damage due to the fatigue of the corrosion, the external damage of the based on the service reliability assessment that must be supported analysis is systematically collected in the lieu of other requirements of this section. Alright, and the inspection test complying with the tanker cars after July 1st, 2001, July 1st, 2000, the tanker car metal jacket with a thermal protection system shall have an inspection testing form in the section no later than the day of the tanker car requiring periodically hydrostatic pressure with the marked with the due date with the tanker car with a hydrogen static test. After July 1st, 1998, each for the tanker car without a metal jacket shall have the inspection testing conform with to this no section no later than the day of the requirements periodic hydrostatic pressure marked due date. The tanker car with the hydrostatic test. The tanker car with the 20-year periodic hydrostatic pressure test. Interval class dot 103W104 W111A6W1 111A100W1 111A100W3 tanker cars for the next sufficient date tested between the compliant with the paragraph 1 and 1 L1 or 2 of the section and remaining of the paragraph years of the tank would have the hydrostatic pressure test. 185.11 acceptable result of the inspection test, provided with the conformance to other applicable requirements of the subchapter of the tanker qualified for the youth that successfully passed for the inspection of the test set forth below, conducted in accordance with the subpart with the representative of the qualification must consider the marking of the tank in accordance with the statute 185.15. Visual inspection tanker car with the successfully passed for the visual inspection and inspection no structural defect with the make of the leakage of the failure of the tank before the next inspection test. Interval structural integrity inspection test for the tanker car successfully passed for the structural integrity inspection test when ensure that no structural defect that may initiate the cracks or propagate cracks cause the failure of the tank before the next inspection of the tank interval. Surface life of the shell thickness. If the tank's car successful pass for the surface life of the shell with the thickness of the inspection where the tank shell with the head show with no thickness of the reduction below than allowed with the statute 18509G. Alright, your safety system inspection. Tank car successfully passed for the safety system inspection when it E for the thermal protection, tank airhead, puncture resistant, system coupler, vertical restraint system U for the protect discontinuities, breakers, the groove at the bottom of the outlets, protect with the housing on the tanker car, conform to the subpart show the identification of the defect that may reduce the reliability before next inspection, the testing of the line and coating inspection of the tank of the car, successfully passing line and coating inspection test with the loading, line and coating tank for the owner of the acceptance criteria, leakage pressure test, the tank of car pressure, tank of car system, successfully pressure the leakage pressure test, which all product piping and fitting in the closure show no indication of a leak. G. Hydrostatic test. A class 107 tank car with the inner tank of glass 115 tanker car with riveted tank car successfully passed the hydrostatic test when it shows no leakage, distortion, successful permanent expansion, or other evidence of weakness that might render the tanker car unsafe for the transportation. Services. Our surface equipment and tanker car successfully passed the surface equipment inspection test where the equipment can conform with the subchapter of the applicable provision Appendix D of the AAR specification tanker cars and show no indication of the defect may reduce the reliability during the qualification interval. 180 513 repairs and alteration conversions and modifications. To work on the tanker cars facilities must comply with the applicable requirements for the subpart with the AAR specification of the tanker cars and the owner's requirements. Responsibility of the tanker car facility must obtain the permission of the equipment of the owner before working and effectively the alteration, conversion, repair, qualification with the owner's equipment. For the purpose of the qualification, maintenance of the tanker car facility must use the written instruction furnished by the owner, having the written confirmation for the owner's allowing you for the written instruction furnished by the owner and having the written confirmation from the owner allowing you for the written instruction furnished by the other in the tanker car facility may not use the open copy of the distributed forward provided another person to own their confidential the priority written instruction for the procedure manual for records without other permission. Tanker facility must report all the performed to the owner of the tanker car facility must also report observed damage, deterioration, failed component of non-compliant parts for the owner. Tanker car facilities must incorporate the owner's quality assurance program in the quality assurance program. Unless the exterior tanker car shell, interior tanker car shell, or car jacket, the protective clothing, and the repair with requires the complete removal of the tanker car jacket. The exterior tanker car shell, interior tanker car jacket must have the protective coating applied to prevent the deterioration of the tanker shell and the tanker jacket previously applied with the coating shell provided with the effective protection needed to be covered over. After the repair, replacement, qualification, tanker car service equipment, and tanker service equipment is successfully passed the leakage test prescribed in Statute 18509J. 18515 marking. When a tanker car passed with the required inspection for the test acceptable result of the tanker car facility must mark the date of the inspection test for the due date with the next inspection test qualified the tanker car in accordance with the applicable provision Appendix D of the AAR specification of tanker cars. When a tanker car facility performed the multiple inspection tests at the same time on the date with the may be used to satisfy the requirements of the section on the date also may be shown with the multiple inspection tests at the same due date. Details displayed on the consolidated sensible of the applicable provision of the Appendix D of the AAR specification of the tanker cars. Take the precedence over the dues. Dates modified with the non-sensible pursuant to the interval adjustment. Services, equipment alignings and granted alternate inspection intervals. Converted to DOT 105, 109, 112, 114, 120 class tanker cars must have the new specification conversion date permanently marked on the letters, figures, and at least 0.375 inches high on the outside of the manual manway nozzle with the edge of the manway nozzle on the left side of the car. The mark may have the least numeral specification number omitted. .111A 100W instead of .111A 100W1. When qualified within 6 months of the installation, protected of the deterioration of the test date marking of the reclosing pressure relief device is insulated on the date of the tanker car. Statute 18517 reporting record retention requirements. Certification representing each owner of the specification tanker car must retain the certificate introduction of the AR Form 452 with the related paper certifying the manufacturer specification tanker car identified with the documents in accordance with the applicable specification. Builder's signature with the certificate of the construction with the marking of the tanks of the cars with the specification of the representative and all the appropriate inspection of the test was successfully performed to qualify the tank for use. The owner must retain the documents throughout the period of the ownership of the specification tanker car for the 1 year thereafter. Upon changing of the ownership, applicable provisions prescribed in Statute 1315 of the AR specification tanker car apply with the build of the car facility with the performing the work on the car must retain copies of the relevant records. Inspection, testing, reporting. Even the tanker car inspected with the test and specified in 180 and 509 must have the written report in English prepared according to the paragraph of the marking of the tanker car with the specification of the retaining specification marks on the tank representing all the appropriate inspection testing performed with the result of the tank of the car owners, the acceptance of the criteria for the qualified for the car. Continue with the report may be created to contain electronically, but upon request of the FAA, a copy of the report must be available of common readable form. The owner must retain the copy of the inspection test of the report successfully completing the next inspection test of the same type. Inspection of the test must include the following: type of the inspection test. The performed checklist is acceptable. The result of each of the inspection test performed. Tank car reporting number, reporting market number, the tank car specification, inspection test date, and the month and the year, location, description of the defects found, the method of repair each of the defect, except for the name and address of the tank of the facility, name of the signature of the inspector, the unique code of the station, stencil identified in the facility. Alright, 185.19 periodic retest inspection tanker cars other than single unit tanker cars generally, unless otherwise provided in subchapter tankers designed to remove the cars from filling with the emptying of the tanker cars built to the class of the .107A. The specification of their safety relief devices must be retested periodically. Specified and retested table number 1, paragraph PC of the B5 of the section. Retest may be made any time during the calendar year the retest falls due. Pressure test. Each tank must be subjectively specified with a hydrostatic pressure for the permanent expansion. Determined the pressure must be maintained 30 seconds for as long as necessary to show the complete expansion from the tank. Before testing, the pressure gauge must be shown with accurate within 1% of the test measure. Expansion gauge must be shown to accurately at the test pressure within 1%. Expansion must be recorded in cubic centimeters. Permanent volumetric expansion must not exceed 10% of the total volumetric expansion. Test pressure of the tank must not leak or show evidence of distress. Each tank, except for the tanks built in specification of .107A, must also be subject to the interior air pressure test with at least 100 psi gauge under conditions favorable to detection any leakage. No leakage may appear. Alright, 3. The safety relief valves must be retested. The air or gas must start with a discharge with below the prescribed pressure. Must be vapor tight in air above the prescribed or above the prescribed pressure. Ruptured disc and fusible plugs must be removed from the tank, and the virtually inspected tanks must be retested. Specimen retestable 1, paragraph B5 with before returning to service after the repairs involved in welding and heating treatment. Or the month and year followed by the V is visually inspected to describe the paragraph C, but the section may be named plainly permanently stamped in the metal with the one half of the trim of the end. Each tank is successfully tested. For example, the 0190 for the January 1990. .107A 4 asterisk tanks date with the must be stamped in the metal with the marks with except that all the tanks bound with the car have been tested. The date may be stamped on into the metal with the plate permanently applied with the bulkhead of the A end of the car. Dates previously tested. All the prescribed markings must be kept legible. Visual inspection. Tank with the class .106A and .110A with the specification 179-300, 179-301. Exclusive with the transporting of fluorinated hydrocarbon mixture of the air over the air free or corroding components may be given the periodic complete internal external visual inspection plate for the periodic hydrostatic pressure. Visual inspection should be made only with a competent person. The tank must be accepted the projection in accordance with the criteria CGA C6. Written record. The result of the pressure from the visual inspection must be recorded in suitable data sheet. The complete copy of these reports must be retained by the owner by the person performing the pressure test visual inspection. Along with the tank, it's served with the information to be recorded and checked on these data sheets for the date and set for the inspection dot specification number, the time, and the tank and the identification registered symbol. Serial number, the date, and the manufacturer ownership symbol, and the type of the protective coating painted, etc. Statement of the so need the refinishing of the recoating condition, check of the leakage, corrosion, gouges, dented digs, broken, damaged shimes, protective rings, fire damage, internal conditions, test result of the test, and disposition of the tank, return service, the return of manufacturer, repair with a scrape or scrap, and identification that for a person conducting retesting inspection. Subpart G, qualification and maintenance of portable tanks.